With it being the end of the college hockey season for many college hockey players, there have definitely been quite a few entry-level contracts being handed out from NHL teams to these prospects, and the Rangers have already given out 4 entry-level deals, one to Gabe Perreault, Noah Laba, and Jackson Dorrington, all former drafted prospects. The Rangers have also handed out a entry-level contract to an undrafted free agent goalie in Callum Tung, who was already featured with the Hartford Wolfpack in the AHL as well. But the Rangers have also kind of had the possibility of signing a prospect who I think is arguably the top defense prospect in the New York Rangers system, and that is Drew Fortescue. But Drew has made the decision to go back to Boston College, which is kind of what we're going to talk about in today's video. Like I said, I think Drew Fortescue is, you definitely could argue, the top New York Rangers defense prospect in the system currently. And with that being said, I thought, after having, 2 back-to-back pretty good seasons there with Boston College, playing alongside the Rangers' top prospect in Gabe Perreault at Boston College as well, I kind of thought Drew was ready to take that step up to pro hockey, and I really thought he was going to sign his entry-level contract. Now, unfortunately, he has not signed it, and I don't necessarily think it's a terrible thing. Obviously, he knows a lot more about his game and his kind of development, and I'm sure he talked with the coaches from both teams there, Boston College and the Rangers kind of coaches there, I'm sure, and kind of got a good idea on kind of what each side kind of wanted it and kind of thought was best for his development. But I kind of thought after having 2 really good seasons there with Boston College and having, 2 good World Juniors as well with Team USA winning back-to-back gold medals, I thought he was kind of ready there to take that maybe step to pro hockey there, play a pretty big role there in that top 4 with the Hartford Wolfpack in the AHL next season there, play alongside a bunch of other really good and promising prospects there, right? He could have been right alongside, Jackson Dorrington there. Maybe that would have been, that first and second kind of pair left-handed defenseman. I don't exactly know, but, I thought maybe a guy like Drew could have ended up having, a pretty good impact down there in the AHL next season. But of course, with him opting to go back to college hockey, that means he's also not going to be available to be called up at some point throughout the season, which I also thought, could have been a possibility. We saw that, earlier this season at the very, very start, we saw a guy like Victor Mancini, a, prospect in his early 20s there, coming from college hockey, having previously played like a couple games. It was not obviously this season, but the season before that with the Hartford Wolfpack there at the end of his college season there, then ends up making the NHL Rangers team at a camp, obviously to begin this season, where he ended up featuring a couple games, obviously a few games there, and ended up playing decent at moments, and throughout this season had a few good flashes, a few bad flashes, but for a young guy in his early 20s there, Victor Mancini definitely showed some flash at the NHL level and, played a decent kind of a role at points throughout this season there. I kind of thought we could have seen the same kind of a thing for someone like Drew Fortescue, especially with knowing this team is in kind of big need for some left-handed defensemen. Obviously, on the right side of things, you have guys like Adam Fox, Will Borgen, and Braden Schneider. So the right side right now in the NHL level for the Rangers is not looking bad at all. But the left side there, you pretty much have Carson Soucy and Urho Vakanainen. And personally, I would rather see a guy like Urho as that kind of 7th defenseman. So obviously, Keandre is still here as well, but I've been kind of talking about it a lot where I do want to see him traded away, absolutely. So you might have kind of 2 open spots there on that left side, and obviously maybe you don't want to have a guy like Drew Fortescue kind of begin the season at the NHL level. Maybe you want to see him kind of, really begin the season with Hartford down there and really get some good pro experience. But either way, I kind of thought he could be a guy, playing consistent time in that top 4, penalty killing, also with the Wolfpack, and then also being a potential kind of call-up candidate as well for this Rangers team if injuries happen or a poor play does happen as well. So that's why I think it's a little unfortunate there just because of that. But I'm sure for his development, going back to college hockey for a 3rd season now where he's going to be a junior, he's obviously going to be a guy who's looking to really kind of hopefully round out his game there. He's going to be on, once again, a very good, I'm sure, Boston College team. Probably won't be as good as this season there, obviously, after losing guys like Ryan Leonard there, obviously Gabe Perreault. We'll see what happens with James Haggins there, whether or not he kind of returns, which at this point, it's definitely possible. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, as he is, projected kind of top 5 pick in this upcoming draft. But either way, Boston College should be a good team there next season once again, like they normally are. One of the top kind of teams in all of college hockey. So Drew should be on a good team there. Hopefully, we'll be able to kind of compete and go on a longer run, obviously, in the kind of hockey tournament there than what they did this year, losing in the second round at Denver. But either way, I am excited to see what Drew can do in his 3rd season there. Can he bring a little more offensively? Because I think we've seen him play at the World Juniors and at the college level, play a really good defensive game there, and he's definitely shown a lot of flashes of being a very good kind of breakout passer there. He can definitely move the puck quite well. He's a great puck mover, I think, and maybe underrated in that skill, but I think opening up a little more offensively, when he's in that kind of second half, their zone, I think is kind of what would be nice to see out of him. But his main game is being that kind of good, more reliable defenseman there who can move the puck. I think that's kind of what he brings, is a defensive kind of defenseman who can move the puck there. He's not a overly physical kind of guy. There has some decent size, at about 6'2" there. Decent size, obviously, but not overly physical, for a guy who is 6'2", but not bad in that department. I just think is a good defensive defenseman there who can move the puck, and that's kind of really what he brings, and that's kind of what this Rangers team can definitely use more of. Now, he doesn't even turn 20 until late April, so he's still very young, left-handed shot guy, and that's kind of why, like I said, I thought he could end up being a kind of potential impact player at the NHL level for the Rangers this season, but maybe he does make an impact at the NHL level at the end of next season there after his college season finishes, next season there. That's definitely a possibility. So maybe in a year time from now, we're talking about Drew signing on with the Rangers there to his entry level contract and actually playing some games there. Ideally, it's in a kind of a really strong push there for the playoffs, or way in the playoffs next year, ideally, but obviously, we'll have to wait and see. But either way, I am excited to see what Drew can do there. Like I said, in his third season there, he is a former third-round pick, and so far, I think is looking like an absolute steal. And I also think at some point in the future, we could possibly end up seeing a defense pair for the New York Rangers be Drew Fortescue alongside Adam Fox as that top pair. I think Drew Fortescue's game kind of really complements someone like Fox. He has, Drew's got that 6'2" size there, which is definitely, bigger than Lindgren. Obviously, I think both those kind of guys, Lindgren and Fortescue, are known as being more to kind of defensive defensemen there, which that's nice and all to go alongside Foxy, but Drew having that size there while also being a really good kind of breakout passer there. He can move the puck, make those stretch passes to kind of get the puck out of the zone there. I think that's kind of one of his kind of really good kind of keys to his game there, is that puck moving ability there, is that passing, is that kind of just able to get the puck out of the zone there, make those long stretch passes. So I think Drew is someone who can really kind of complement a guy like an Adam Fox a lot more than someone like Lindgren can. And I think, Drew is not going to be ever a true kind of top pairing kind of guy. I don't think he's going to be like a number one or number two. Maybe he can be a number two kind of guy. That's possible. But I think for sure he can definitely potentially be a good, top four caliber defenseman at the NHL level. And I think, being a kind of complimentary guy to go alongside Foxy could work out quite well. I don't think, like I said, he's going to be that number one, number two kind of guy, but being a really good kind of complimentary guy like Lindgren was, just at a much higher level, I think is definitely a big possibility for someone like a Drew Fortescue. I think truly has top four kind of upside, and it'll definitely be interesting to kind of see what he can do in this upcoming college season as he's headed back to Boston College for his junior season of college hockey. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed it, definitely don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. So definitely don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll catch you next one, and definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts on Drew Fortescue, the prospect, and also him heading back to college hockey for a third season? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.